Hey guys, it's Mike, and you're watching That's Cool Vintage Collectibles, and I have an absolutely incredible piece of baseball history to show you today that I just picked up, and I can't wait to show you what it is. So stay tuned, and let's get into it. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I saw an online auction for some vintage baseball memorabilia, and this piece just stood out to me as such an incredible item that I thought I have to try for this. I have to get it, and I did. I was able to get it, and this is a 1932 Detroit Tigers program from Navin Field in Detroit, and it's a game that took place on September 10th, 1932. And the opponent of the Tigers that day was the New York Yankees. And if you know anything about the history of the New York Yankees, the 32 Yankees were one of the greatest baseball teams ever assembled. And they went on to win the World Series that year. And in the World Series, that was the famous game against the Chicago Cubs where Babe Ruth called his shot. So it's a pretty legendary team. The lineup cards are included in this program. I'm going to show you this in a minute. But they feature no less than 9 Yankee Hall of Famers, and even one of the Tigers is a Hall of Famer. So pretty incredible lineup that played that game. It was September 10th, 1932. It was the second game of a doubleheader. There were 8,000 people in attendance that day, and it was a day game in Detroit. The Yankees ended up winning in 10 innings, 4-1. So the cover of this program is just fantastic, and so of the period. The front has on the left top your lucky number, and on the back cover there's a stamped number, which I'll show you in a minute. But that must have been for a draw or something to do with winning something. But on the top it says baseball headquarters, make them yours, and this is actually the hotels where the Tigers stay when they're on the road. And could you imagine nowadays publishing that where the team was staying? That would never happen. Pretty cool. It is a 10-cent program, and Arctic quality ice cream at Navin Field at the front as well. And you can also get hot coffee at the game at any of the 7 stands in the park, or from the boys in the aisle, which is pretty cool. So this is just such a time capsule to look at, and of a bygone era. And any pre-war baseball is so interesting to me. It's just the game was really starting to become America's game at that point, and was a huge draw wherever players were. Now inside the lineup cards of both teams are in here, and there's tons of great advertisement from the likes of Budweiser beer right through to dry cleaning companies and or cleaning companies, I guess at that point, and ginger ale. You can get a loan to buy diamonds. There's all kinds of things. Hotels. Camel cigarettes is in there. There's cigar companies. It's just so of the era, which is pretty cool. Ice cream. Everything about the ballpark in the 1930s. And the lineups featured a lot of Hall of Fame players. The Tigers had Charlie Gehringer at second base during this game. And being game 2 of a doubleheader, we start to see a lot of the lineup was altered throughout the game, and names are crossed out and replacements are there. Sometimes they've been erased again. So I don't know, somebody down the road trying to make this maybe a little more collectible took out some of the names. But it being the second game of a doubleheader, I'm sure guys were lifted out of the lineup at that point to be replaced, especially 2 day games. But at least it was September, and maybe it wasn't as hot as a July game. But definitely a pretty cool piece. The Yankees had 9 Hall of Famers that day in the lineup, including Earl Combs, Bill Dickey, Lefty Gomez, Tony Lazzari, Herb Pennock, Red Ruffing, Joe Sewell, and batting third, Babe Ruth, and batting fourth, Lou Gehrig. Pretty unbelievable, the 1932 Yankees. And they were just such a fantastic team. Went on to win the World Series. Babe Ruth's called shot is in 32. So many cool pieces of history with the 32 Yankees. And I'm just absolutely over the moon to have a piece from that team or associated with that team in my collection. And the back cover has some tobacco advertisement, which is pretty cool. Baking companies, and there's lots of stuff going on here. And there's the batteries of the American League Club, which is the pitchers and catchers of the American League teams: New York, Cleveland, Chicago, Washington, Philadelphia, Boston, and St. Louis. That was the St. Louis Browns at that point. And just amazing to look through the names here and see some of these players and kind of be like, wow, like Philadelphia's got, some amazing pitchers. Lefty Grove up there. Amazing stuff, and such a piece of baseball history. And to think it survived this long is truly incredible. Any piece of paper from 1932 to this is coming right out of the Great Depression. It's an amazing time, and I just think this is when baseball was really exploding in the United States. It's when the country needed something, and it was something that people could hang on to, and it was something that people could enjoy and forget about. 1930s America was pretty difficult, and people now looking back, you can kind of look, but you kind of forget that they were really tough times in the early 1930s in the United States. And Detroit, being an automotive town, probably was still doing okay in ways, but pretty amazing that this had survived, and we just see this is when baseball is starting to become America's game and pastime, and the stadiums are starting to get fuller, and more people are going to games, and it's really becoming something that is more than just a sport at this point. It's becoming more of a cultural thing in the United States. So this is amazing, and I'm just thrilled to have it. So I hope you enjoyed that look at this vintage program. This is the newest item in my collection. I just got it yesterday in the mail, and I couldn't be happier, more pleased to own it. It's just one of those things that I'll just keep forever, and I think it really is such a piece of history and an amazing connection to the past. And that's what collecting is all about: being able to collect something that it takes you to a certain time with a physical artifact. And you can't get that with reproduction items, and you can't get that online. It's got to be the real piece, and I'm very happy to have this in my collection. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. On this channel, we do vintage sports memorabilia and baseball, hockey cards, and things like that, as well as rock and roll memorabilia, records, guitars, and other vintage items. And that's what That's Cool Vintage Collectibles is all about. And if you like that, like and subscribe, and there'll be more coming. Stay tuned and keep on collecting. Thanks for watching.